Come on, old man. We've got bad guys who need chasing. This is the best day of my life.
This is going to be a short video, but I kind of just want to get this off my chest. I love the Under the Red Hood movie. I know a lot of people claim it to be the best Batman movie. I don't know if I can go that far with it, but it's definitely up there for me. It's definitely one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Aesthetically, I'll say, it's my favorite Batman movie. And I like how, despite the high concept nature of the story, and it taking place squarely in the DC universe, where there's ancient magic, immortality jacuzzis, and robots with superpowers, the movie allows itself to still feel grounded and not undercut the emotional gravity of its story with meta humor or TikTok jokes simply because it's faithfully adapting the aesthetic of a comic book and is afraid of being perceived as being pretentious. So I really appreciate it for that, and I really wish that more comic book films, animated or otherwise, would follow more in this movie's footsteps. That said, as much as I love this movie, and as much praise as I can throw its way, I do feel like it did irreparable damage to the character of Jason Todd. Because ever since, Jason's developed this reputation as being the problem child, or the rotten egg. You know, he's the violent Robin because he disobeyed Batman and, you know, he had a bad attitude. And don't get me wrong, I think that take works for that one movie. It works in that one self-contained instance. And even beyond that, if the video games or the TV shows want to play with that angle, I mean, I get it. It's not a bad concept. But where I take issue is when that perception bleeds over into the comics, which is what we're seeing now and what we've been seeing for well over a decade at this point. And it doesn't work. Retroactively saying that Jason was the bad Robin and that he was the violent one, because that's just not the case. In fact, if you go back and you read those old 1980s Batman stories where Jason Todd is Robin, honestly, he could just be Dick Grayson. You know, there isn't that much of a difference between the two. But I feel like, especially after his death, that's what makes Jason an interesting fixture in Batman's mythology, and that's what makes him all the more tragic. And the thing people often forget about 80s Batman comics, or just don't know because they never actually read them, which I'm not going to be too shitty about, because quite frankly, DC's done a pretty goddamn terrible job of collecting that material in my opinion, and what they have collected, they just took out of print for reasons unknown. But the thing that I think people either forget or just aren't aware of is that Jason Todd, despite his rough upbringing, despite being raised on the streets of Gotham City, he didn't let that define him. And again, unlike the movie, Jason doesn't use Robin as a means to hurt people because he wants to help people. Jason's a sweet kid. You know, he just wanted to help as many people as he possibly could because that's what superheroes do. And it's what Batman does. And it's what his predecessor Dick Grayson did as Robin and continued to do as Nightwing. And bringing it all back to my point earlier about how Jason being a good kid and origin aside, more or less just Dick Grayson 2.0, and how that digs the knife of a death in the family deeper, is that what happened to Jason could have happened to Dick. And counter, what Dick would grow into is what Jason could have been if he wasn't killed. And that's the thing that haunts Bruce Wayne. You know, on top of the fact that he and Dick had a falling out, which ended with him firing Dick, which is why he later went off and joined the Teen Titans full time, sometimes after Bruce fired Dick and after Dick became Nightwing, there's a period when they start talking again. I think it's in the New Titans, or maybe it's Tales of the Teen Titans. I don't know. It's the issue where Donna Troy gets married to Marv Wolfman. But there's a really good moment between Dick and Bruce at the wedding reception where Dick basically comes out and says that he's jealous of Jason because Bruce chose to formally adopt him, but it never crossed his mind to adopt Dick. And Bruce offers a really interesting explanation in saying that he just never thought about it. And by the time he did start thinking about it, it was already too late. So in a way, Jason is Bruce's second chance. And again, I feel like making Jason this demon-spawned wild child flies in the face of all of that and lessens the impact of his death in the first place. Bruce adopted Jason because he saw Dick in Jason. And I did not think about that sentence before I said it. But you know what I meant. And I think the big thing here, my big problem with a lot of modern depictions of Jason Todd, is that I think there's too much Red Hood being projected onto his Robin years. And I see the intent, thematically, and, people are trying to be clever. You have writers trying to foreshadow Red Hood as Jason Todd's future. I get it. I just think it misses the point of what made A Death in the Family work so well in the first place. And I think it misses the point of Jason's legacy as Bruce's fallen soldier. And more importantly, I just think it misses the point of Robin as an institution. I don't know. I feel like this video is very scatterbrained, but I hope the basic idea of what I'm trying to say is getting across. But I don't know, man. I feel like retroactively saying that Jason Todd was a bad person before he became the Red Hood, it just completely undermines his death. But it also undermines him becoming the Red Hood in the first place. And I think it works within the context of the Under the Red Hood movie in a way where it doesn't necessarily work in the comics. And that's it. That's the video. If you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out some 80s Batman comics. Random recommendation, Batman the Cult. That's a really good Jason Todd story. I mean, it's not about Jason Todd. It's just that Jason Todd was Robin at the time in that book. And it's really good. You're going to have a bitch of a time trying to find a copy of it if you just don't plan on pirating it. And hey, DC, maybe if you do a better job of recollecting some of your older comics and keeping said books in print, people wouldn't have to pirate them. Or, just know that these books existed in the first place. Just a thought. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoy, and until next time, see you later. Take care.